good technology tends to be invisible. And if you look at logic here, which I don't know so much about, so I'm talking about them from the outside, even if I met them quite a few times. They are optimizing ads for newspapers contextually. You want to have a relevant ad for the text you are reading, which is probably the biggest artificial intelligence segment today. Maybe I will talk a little bit more about that. They're also doing other things, if I'm not mistaken. So when you go into a big newspaper, you can get different stories depending on who you are. So when you list the next story of another article, you know, this teasers, as they are called, it optimizes for you. So most of the other people that read these two articles, they continue with that one. And if you calculate the revenues you can get from that, it's a considerable number. But it's invisible technology, and it should be that. And in this case, if you're talking about the media industry, they don't want it to show. That's one of the big mistakes that we did in the beginning. We wanted to be there and be seen, and we wanted to have our things in a way so we can click on it. But of course, they are very, very protective, and they should be, about the user interfaces and their connection, and also their ownership, user experience. Only the paranoid survives, and that's I guess also true. It's this. I guess it's the difference between the startup world and many a big corporation, working in a big corporation or being a scientist. I will tell you about my first larger exit, where I sold a company 13 years ago or something, and I was called up by the guys that I had left the company. I had started it, but I left the company more or less. And I was called up by the guys I worked with for 5 years or something. And they said, we want to buy your shares. I said, well, that could be good. I can use a motorcycle or a boat. So I went there and they bought my shares for a nice but not enormous amount. And then afterwards, I kind of started to feel paranoid. This didn't feel right. So I started to investigate a little bit. And I found out that 2 weeks later, they sold that company for about 1 million Swedish crowns, including my shares. So I phoned up my lawyer, and I asked him, what should I do? And he says, lawyers are always hedging their bets. So he said, well, we can do that, and maybe if you're lucky, you can sue them, and in 7 years you might get some kind of justice, because I thought it was justice. And that didn't sound like a good idea. So I phoned someone else up, good at fixing things, and he said, this is what you're going to do. You still have a key to this company. This is the kind of story that's kind of worried about taking, but I don't think this is a problem. You still have the key to the company? I said, yes. Phone your lawyer and ask if it's legal for you to enter the building with the contract. Yeah, yes, and it was. So I went there in the middle of the night, went in. I didn't have the alarm code, so the alarm started to really go off. I had a deal in 3 days instead of court process of 7 years. And in the end, I think that was good. Maybe the good ending of this story is that 10 years later I got friends with these guys again, actually. So maybe that's why I can tell it. So a lot of strange things happen. Sometimes people ask me, why are you doing business with this guy? He tricks people. And I said, it's better to know that, then I know where I have him, than being tricked by a friend, which is, doesn't feel like good. But maybe that's a little bit exaggerating. So the most usual question to why did they do that to me is because they could. And in Sweden we say, varför gör du på detta viset? Om man har sett Astrid-Lindgrens filmer. So you need to have some kind of good contracts, and you need to make sure that bad things cannot happen to you. And you need to listen to the old Machiavelli guy sometimes. Another thing that make sure you ask questions when things happen to you. you can have an opportunity going past your nose quicker than you think. I was phoned up by a guy at, I think it was the Förenade Arabemiraten, Abu Dhabi. He was connected to the royal family, and he said, would you like to create the best humanoid in the world? We have heard about your experiments, and we would like to build the best humanoid in the world. We have built the best chess program by collecting the best researchers, and now we would like to build the best humanoid robot in the world. So I thought of it. I have 6 children, and I thought, nah, I won't go to Abu Dhabi with my 6 children. So I said no. I said unlimited funds. The royal family, the prince, wants to make a really nice robot to show. No, I cannot leave Sweden. Get all my children up and go. I said, well, do you know anyone else that's good at the kind of research that you have done on your robots? So I gave them the phone number to 2 of my students. And one of them went to Abu Dhabi, and he got a job. And they asked him, so where do you want your company? Well, I like Barcelona. Why not Barcelona? Oh, start it there. So if I had checked a little bit, I could have had this company wherever I wanted in Göteborg. So that's kind of a lesson to learn from. But the company turned out much better than probably been underneath, called robotics in Barcelona. It has built some really nice humanoids. The humanoid in this film is not the latest model. There are 2 later models. They're called Brem B if you want to search for them. Maybe they are as good as Honda or other humanoids. They are not as well publicized. And in Barcelona, so I met with the guys dealing with investment in Barcelona, and they hadn't heard about their unique company. It turned out to be a very nice robot, and I thought I should show a little bit of that. We were down there, and we were trying our reasoning software built for the Swedish defense on this robot. So we're actually running our software from Aerobis on this humanoid. And this is a clip from it's a bad clip, but I made quickly from a television program. But it's already started.
I can walk. Recognize people in RAS projects.
Det här är anledningen till att experimentet sker just i Barcelona. Forskarna har fått låna en av världens mest avancerade människoliknande robotar, utvecklad här på företaget PAL Technology. Tanken är att Ream själv ska lära sig saker utifrån datorprogrammets regler.
Man avlar fram kunskap.
I don't understand. Moles, please elaborate. Is this what we wanted?
No period.
Det går åt en hel del tragglande, men så småningom.
Is this what we wanted?
Yes, period. Jag håller på det. I am thirsty, period.
Det ska sägas med en gång att vi har förkortat skeendet ganska rejält. Men efter ett tag så trillar polletten ner här också.
Here you are.
Why did you say that, period?
I am thirsty might mean Peter is thirsty and using the fact that I know. Peter is thirsty might mean Peter would like to drink the Coke and using the fact that I know. Peter would like to drink the Coke might mean I will give Peter a Coke, then move. Again, place, then say, here you are, then Peter will be happy.
Jag vill säga egentligen en kul sak för att den försöker göra mig glad just nu då. Och här slutar resonemanget med att den inser att jag kommer bli glad om jag får en kola. Egentligen kommer alla de här experimenten sättas upp på det här sättet. Antingen blir roboten bara glad när den tillfredsställer sig själv, eller så får den tillfredsställelse av att tänka på andra.
Experimentet i Barcelona är första steget mot att bygga in etiska resonemang i en maskin.
So, the good thing with the health technology story is that I can come as much as I want and play with the robots there. And I also really believe that this research is interesting, where you have kind of model moral behavior through reasoning, where you can experiment with a robot that only thinks on itself, thinks on a couple of persons, but try to think on a large group of persons. And it's of course very important if we're going to have more autonomous agents in dangerous situations. Okay, what are the trends? What are the hot topics, in my opinion, in commercial AI? It's not always good to go for the current trends, for reasons that I will come back to, but I think trends right now are those. I'm at the moment working some for AstraZeneca, and I will work even more, so this is kind of also connecting to how industry sees things. Recommendation systems are really hot, and it's kind of invisible technology. When you go into a bookstore, they recommend something else for you. And that can mean a big difference in the bottom line. If you get the study manual for the textbook, oh, of course I want that one, and so on. So recommendation systems are really hot, and sure that they're making it, but they are almost completely invisible. Everything that has to do with text is hot. One of the reasons is that it's infinitely complex, of course. We can go to infinite depth in understanding text, and we are so far away from really doing what the human can do with text. You have the semantic side, which is coming more and more, and people want to build their ontologies and taxonomies and grab meaning out of texts. Search is popular, and to researcher that sounds a little bit strange, because search is kind of old school. We think we know how to search more or less. But the search inside a company is getting bigger and bigger, and of course very valuable, since they are, I remember at some point the internal documents at Ericsson were as 10% of the internet at that time, was a long time ago. But there are a lot of documents that companies need to search for internally. Reasoning is getting hot. I'm not sure everyone knows what it's meant by it. It has to do with the semantic side. Can we reason a little bit about all the facts we have? Images and video. Everything that means that that you can use new things that weren't possible for a computer 5 years ago. It's interesting. You should skate where the puck will be, not where it is now. And Moore's law, the fact that